Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with If I Could Choose Only One Work by composer B, it would have to be work I. And I don't mean I as in the letter I like the alphabet I. I mean I as in the imaginary number, the square root of -1, because if there was ever a composer whose works deserved to be classified by imaginary numbers, it's John Cage, of course. And the work in question is not 4 minutes and 33 seconds because, let's face it, how can you tell a god like the evil god Cankresans, who wants to destroy all of classical music, but for one work per composer, to just listen to himself for 4 minutes and 33 seconds? This is an entity who's used to hearing himself talk. Believe me, I've spoken to him. He can go on endlessly and has no sense of time whatsoever. So 4 minutes and 33 seconds doesn't do it. No, the imaginary number I, opus I by John Cage, is the sonatas and interludes for prepared piano, because we all too easily forget that John Cage was, among other things, a composer. He actually wrote music, notated music, and some of it is just marvelous. Early in his career, when he was doing ballets and things like that with Merce Cunningham and whatnot, he wrote really cool stuff. He experimented with percussion with Lou Harrison and those guys. He was part of the West Coast American music, exotic, avant-garde musical industrial complex. Whatever that means. He was one of them, and even though he lived in New York most of the time. So he was sleeping with all of them. Somehow he was related to them. And the point is that the sonatas and interludes for prepared piano are simply works of genius. Genius, I tell you. And he wrote a lot else for prepared piano too. There's a good couple of discs worth. It's all recorded on Naxos, by the way. There are no bad recordings of the sonatas and interludes for prepared piano, because if you're going to bother preparing your piano in the first place, you damn well better know how to play the things, and people do. But here's the point. Let's start at the beginning. What is a prepared piano? Well, Cage and his associates who were into that kind of stuff were trying to explore new sounds, exotic sounds, and particularly the sound of the Balinese gamelan and percussion orchestras. But they didn't have percussion orchestras. They lived in New York and Greenwich Village and, did drugs and slept around and had no money. And so they had to create these exotic sounds with normal means. Well, not necessarily normal means, but starting with something normal. So Cage took a piano and he started sticking stuff into the strings, rubber erasers and wood wedges and, clippy things and nuts and bolts and whatnot, so that the entire range of the instrument, the timbre of the instrument, was changed on almost a note-by-note basis. And as a result of that, you have this incredible sounding percussion orchestra at your fingertips. It's really an astonishingly wonderful instrument. And he wrote a whole series of goodies, the sonatas and interludes for prepared pianos, among other works for that particularly unique apparatus. And they are just really cool sounding. Some of them are tonalish, some of them are atonalish. They have very simple forms to the extent they have forms. Some of them are free form. They're really, really nifty. They're sonatas like Scarlatti sonatas are sonatas, little individual movements. And you just listen to them for the absolutely enchanting sound that they make. They are part of Cage's ongoing experiment to explore all of the different potentialities of new sounds in music. And of course, we all know what happened later. We had 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and we have things that are completely experimental and that use all kinds of other stuff, and all of which is loosely grouped under the rubric of music as she is played. But the sonatas and interludes really are a wonderful watershed in his development as a composer, in the history of contemporary music, in the history of keyboard music. really, really astonishing works. And so if I had to give them to the evil god Cancresans and say, look, listen to this. Isn't this cool? And then this guy went completely nuts. We need to be able to follow his thought and his vision wherever it may have gone afterwards. So you don't want to destroy aria and fontana mix. And the cats are going crazy in the other room. That's what that noise is, if you're curious. They're magnificent pieces. They really are. And they deserve to survive, and they deserve to be heard, and they deserve to be heard without mocking them. Or Cage, for example, for that matter, because he was really, really quite a guy. Fascinating character, a real personality, a force in contemporary music, whether you like his stuff or don't like his stuff. And I think some of it is total nonsense, but some of it is marvelous. And so I'm focusing on the marvelous. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.